So let me illustrate this, these three mullahs with a story. And this comes from the Hebrew Bible in the book of Genesis. And it's a story that takes place in the Garden of Eden. Now, as you recall, some of you may know the story, and if not, I'll explain it to you, that the primal couple, the original couple, Adam and Eve, were living in the Garden of Eden, and it was a paradise. You know, they didn't have to work. There was abundant trees and fruits, and the climate was perfect, and they were living in perfect harmony with nature and perfect harmony with the Creator, with universal consciousness. One day, God came to Adam and Eve and said, you have all of this abundance, all these wonderful fruits and things. I'm going to give you just one commandment. You can eat from all of the trees and all the fruits in the garden, but do not taste from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This is the one tree. It was an apple tree. Don't eat from this particular tree. So life went on. They listened to the command of God. And one day a serpent appeared to them. And it was this talking serpent. And it said to Adam, it said, hey, why don't you take a bite of the apple? It will give you knowledge. It will give you knowledge of good and evil, you know. And he said, you will surely not die from eating this tree, as God had said to you. If you eat from this tree, you'll die. It's not true. If you eat from this tree, you'll have the knowledge of good and evil, of right and wrong. So the serpent convinced Adam and Eve to just take one bite. And they did. They took a bite. And after taking a bite, they noticed that they were naked. So each of them ran behind a bush and took a leaf and covered them. In that moment, they heard the voice of God saying, come, where are you? Where are you? And God saw that they were covered with these fig leaves and said, you must have tasted from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, since you know of good and evil, right and wrong, I'm going to have to expel you from the Garden of Eden, and you'll leave the gates and you'll have to work for the rest of your lives. By the sweat of your brow, man will eat and woman will bear pain in childbirth. And they were expelled from the Garden of Eden, and the life of humanity and the human race came into existence. Now I want to point out how these three mullahs, this is a story that really illustrates these three mullahs. So they were living in harmony with the Supreme Being. And God said, don't do this. And they did that. So they broke the sense of unity and declared their individuality. They broke away. And this is what's called the Anavamala. And they then began to have a sense of imperfection, of limitation. After eating the fruit, they saw that they were man and woman. They were given the knowledge of good and evil. In other words, duality. They saw each other and they were ashamed. Then they heard the voice of God, and God spoke to them and told them about the law of karma and expelled them from the Garden of Eden and told them that you'll need to work for the rest of your days. And this is karma mala. So the story illustrates anavamala, the primal sense of individuality and separation from the Supreme Being. Maya mala, the idea of difference, separation, Maya, the world of illusion, no longer seeing consciousness everywhere, but seeing forms and difference. And then karma mala, the law of cause and effect, of needing to use the body in order to work and to earn a living and to feed themselves, and then being involved in the cycle of transmigration of birth and death. So this story of Genesis is a wonderful illustration of the three mullahs, and also demonstrates that this is a universal idea, that you find this idea of limitation in these three forms across religions and across traditions.